Hello everybody. Today we will analyze the poem To the Food from his child written by Pablo Neruda. It's only through metaphor and not by rational analysis or argument that the difficult concepts and mysteries of life can be revealed. Pablo Neruda seems to agree with this saying because his poem To the Food from its child is predominantly filled with metaphors. Every image that he uses tries to say the sense of the poem through the metaphors. The word food is the soul of the poem. Before I move on to the explanation of the poem, Pablo Neruda needs a little introduction. He is basically a Chilean poet and has written this poem in the Spanish language and has been translated by Alastair Reid in English, who is a Scottish poet. Pablo Neruda is a pen name which this poet has taken due to his fondness to the Czechoslovakian poet Neruda. Though the title seems to be a little strange or weird, To the Food from its child, not making itself very clear, but once we understand the meaning of the poem, you truly will agree with this title. Because Pablo Neruda's style of writing itself he's a surrealistic poet, where he uses unrealistic images, unrealistic comparisons, which is not commonly found. That's the reason probably the title sounds so. Let us now move on to this detailing of this analysis of the poem. I was talking about the word food. The whole poem deals with that one key word, food. What does food stand here? Food symbolizes the journey of life. This poem is completely the explanation of the transition of the child's food into adulthood. How is it? What are the courses of it? How does it look like? All these things are, and what are the experiences that the food undergoes in this process of transforming itself from the child's food to the adulthood. This is what we are going to learn here. The child's food is not take away, it's a food and would like to be a butterfly on an apple. Let us take it in the simplest way, understand it in the simplest way. When the child is born, its life is very beautiful. It's the most pampered, completely focused, there's enough liberty, carefree life. Innocence marks the child's life. Maybe ignorance of so many aspects also acts as a blessing to the child's food. With all these things, without knowing that this food is food to move and has to trod on a path which is not a bed of roses or not a path of roses. It is into the illusion or the dream world to be a butterfly or an apple. The child's food wants to be like a butterfly, to be a butterfly. What does a butterfly symbolizes? Colorfulness, colorfulness of life. And this is what it wants to be. So beautiful, amazing life. And if not butterfly, it wouldn't mind being an apple. One need to understand that most of the English writings, we use the example of an apple because it's a biblical context to it. Apple stands for temptation. Apple stands as a symbol of eternity. Apple stands for as a symbol of knowledge. It has stood as a testimony of man's consistency at the very outset of the word's creation. Apple stood as a testimony to man's determination. So here, apple also stands as a symbol of a beautiful fruit, which the child would definitely want to be. It is into the illusion without knowing the actual delusion of life. What is delusion? Bhranti, what is it? ಯಾವುದು ಸಹಜವಾಗಿರೋದು that is a delusion. ಅದರ ಕನಸು ಸಹಜವಾಗಿತ್ತು, ಆದರೆ ಸತ್ಯ ಅಷ್ಟು ಸಹಜವಾಗಿರಲಿಲ್ಲ. It was altogether a different thing. But in time, stones and bits of glass, steels, ladders, and the paths in the rough earth go on teaching the foot that it cannot fly, cannot be a fruit bulging on the branch. But in time, as the time passed, with the passing time, the path of the life very clearly indicated that it is not the path of roses. Rather, contradictingly, it was filled with stones, bits of glasses, which definitely would hurt the foot, streets, confusions, ladders climbing up very difficult, and the pass, very pass on the rough earth. This was not a heavenly abode, it was a rough earth. It is the harsh reality of the life that the foot has to face, had to expose itself to. And all these images, stones, bits of glass, streets, ladders, all this very clearly indicates to us the hurdles, the difficulties, the challenges, the pains, the hurts that the foot has to face in the journey of life. Once it realized, it definitely came to a conclusion that it has no possibility of flying like a butterfly. But in the first stanza, it very well expressed all the possibilities, the limitless possibilities of life, of colorful life, hope. But now slowly it is diminishing. It could very well realize that no, its dream will not be fulfilled. It cannot fly like a butterfly, or it can attractively bulge, hang on to the branch, because the dream was completely different from its reality. What we visualize is different, what we undergo is different. That is what the child's foot realized. And then the child's foot is defeated, falls in the battle, is a prisoner condemned to live in a shoe. Undoubtedly, life is a battlefield. And we are the soldiers who have been fighting, who have been waging war against so many odds, against so many hurdles. Every day is a struggle, children. Life is a struggle, but a bundle of struggles. How well you are going to handle it, how well you are going to solve your problems, that is the real challenge of life. But this little foot, with these beautiful dreams of it, completely lost the battle. It got defeated. It was not victorious in becoming a butterfly because that was not possible. There were limitations. It was not a limitless there were limitations to it. And this limitation very clearly told that it can no more be a butterfly or hang like a. And once it was defeated, any person who is defeated is taken as a prisoner and is confined to a prison. He is condemned. He was sentenced to punishment. What was the punishment? That he will be imprisoned. Where was he imprisoned? The child's foot was imprisoned in a shoe that was its prison. Children, here shoe symbolizes a man, not just a man with responsibility, a man with enough duties and commitments to be fulfilled, and bearing all this on his shoulder. And shoe is the symbol of a grown-up man here. So it had to, that little joyful, which was very much exposed to the nature, now had to be condemned and now enclosed. It has to be put into, confined into the shoe, and so now it has got into the shoe. And how is the shoe, children? It so clearly tells you this metaphor of a shoe to the life flows. You have very less hopes of rays of brightness here, rays of hopes here. There is no ray of hope at all. Even if they're very less. What dominates in a shoe? It's a darkness. It may be Pablo Neruda's experience, children. We cannot say or generalize like life is like this. But this is the way Pablo Neruda looks at life. It is his personal perspective that he looks at, where maybe to some extent even we can connect ourselves, because we are seeing the joy part of the life is very less compared to the struggles that we undergo, the struggles that we take up in our life is more than the joy of life. So naturally, we can connect ourselves with his feelings or with his experiences. So now it is been sentenced to punishment, condemned, and to live in a shoe. It has to get into the shoe. This poem basically can be categorized into 4 sections, very interestingly into 4 sections. What is that 4? Which are these 4 sections? The first part of it deals with the childhood. Then it deals with the harsh reality, which was completely contrast to its dream. Then it moves on to the maturity part of it. How will be the foot when it grows on or when it matures, and then what are the difficulties that it faces. And the next phase of this poem deals with the death journey, which is an inevitable phase of human life. That's an important phase of the man's journey. And then, does it end with the death? No. The first part of the poem, where the child's foot was into that delusion of being a butterfly or an apple, once again it gets back, recycles itself into the delusion of fulfilling its unfulfilled dream. This is how the poem can be beautifully classified. Now, once it has been into the shoe, what happened next? Bit by bit, in that dark, it grows to know the world in its own way. Naturally, there is no bright light. It cannot see the things clearly, vividly, the way we can see at the things when we are exposed to the light. Can we make out anything in the darkness? Absolutely not, because we grow blind in darkness. So exactly the same way, the foot of the child has also grown blind in the darkness of the shoe, confined to it. Its limitless possibility has now been constrained to limited possibility. From limitless, it has become limited. Out of touch with its fellow, enclosed, being concealed. There's nobody else to guide it, no companions to whom it can look up to, the foot can look up to, or can follow them. There is no such possibilities because it is moving along. You just for a minute stop and Visualize the movement of the foot. When one moves ahead, the other one will be following. And then when the left leg moves ahead, the right will be following. Do they ever go together? No, not at all. That is not the rule of the foot. When that is the case, there is no possibility of both the foot at least going together or looking at each other. It is ruled out. It is always all alone. Even our journey is all alone. We need to live our life on our own terms and conditions as per our understanding, as per our knowledge of this life. We are always a lonely traveler. We may feel that people are around us, but no, when seriously you think we are always alone. And thus, here out of touch with his fellow, nobody to be with it, enclosed, feeling out life like a blind man. Absolutely. In the darkness, it is no better than a blind man. Herein, I am remembering the story of a few blind people, how they look at life. So, exactly like the blind man, how they can imagine an elephant children. One blind man holds a trunk and he feels like it is something like a very thick, shallow part. One holds the tail. He feels like as if it's like a rope. One touches the leg of the elephant and says that elephant is like a pillar, and the other one the surface and feels that it is flat. The elephant is just a flat surface because that's the only possibility a blind man has. He cannot view the whole image of an elephant. He cannot see it to give the exact picture of it. Maybe to some extent we have to agree with Pavlin Buddha. That for us also we don't know what life is exactly. Can we define life? Absolutely not possible. Because what is life for me may not be the same definition for my next person. His experiences are different from mine. And the third person's experiences are different from mine. So each one of us, we look at it, we conceive life, or we perceive it. Our perception of life is too different from one another based on our own personal experiences. Here, the foot which has got into the shoe is also looking at the life as much as it can in the darkness of its surrounding. The next stanza deals with horrifying transformation or the transformation of the child's foot into adulthood. What is the transformation? These soft nails of course bunched together grow hard and change themselves into opaque substance, hard as horn. Those little, the purest form of the nails of the foot when it's new, when it's young, it's like a quartz, the white stone, crystal clear, suddenly bunches together, grows very hard. How hard that it is no more clear, it's unclear. Then it was dust free, stain free, pristine clarity was there. It was soft, it was lovely, but now it is completely a reverse of it. It's hard, it's rough, it's unclear, and it's how hard? Hard as a horn. This very clearly uses, which is like a stone. It's as hard as a stone. We don't even feel that it is anymore a nail. That nail, you don't even feel that it's the nail of the foot. It has grown so hard because being confined into that limitation of the shoe, it has lost its healthy, it has lost its cheer, its beauty, everything it has lost. The journey has lost its joy, children. into opaque substance, hard, which is opaque means unclear, hard as horn, and the tiny petaled toes of the child grow bunched and out of trim. That little petal, see the comparison that the poet gives. The petals of the flowers. Flower itself is so tender, and the individual petals are much more tender than the flower. They're so soft, so smooth, so beautiful, so vulnerable. That kind of a petal now has turned into a bunch of a hard substance and out of trim. What is trim? Trim being visit the shape, but now it has grown shapeless. It is out of trim. Take on the form of eyeless reptiles. The poet is using metaphors which makes us feel that the adolescent age or the maturity of the man is very horrendous, horrifying. And these images that he is giving is truly sickening because it is ungainly. It is not beautiful. And what does he say? It takes on the form of an eyeless reptiles, as it is of all the creatures. Reptiles are the most ungainly. On the top of it, it's an eyeless reptile with triangular heads like worms. It is made to sound much more horrifying through these adjectives used by the poet. That means the childhood has completely undergone the change and transformed from beauty to ugly, wonderful to ungainly, from tenderness to roughness, from that clear and pristine beauty to a very impure and unclear. This is how he explains a grown-up foot. He further adds up to this. He says that later they grow calloused and are covered with the faint volcanoes of death, a coarsening hard to accept. He doesn't just stop there. He may not be, I think the poet doesn't feel happy with this kind of an explanation. He goes on adding up a little more ugliness to this foot. Later, they are calloused. Their hardened. Calloused is hardened. How much are they hardened? Not only hardened, that it was difficult for anybody to realize that it is being covered with the faint volcanoes of death. This faint volcanoes of death is nothing but a symbol of death here, children. Of course, as we progress in life, we are progressing towards the death only, definitely. From our birth, when we start our journey, what is the ultimate destination? It's death. So now, when it has taken up this journey, it is already above the volcanoes. And why volcanoes, children? We never know where the volcanoes are unless and until it erupts. We realize where they are. So death has also hidden under the foot here. The moment it erupts, we are no more there. We succumb to it. So the faint volcanoes of death are just beneath the foot of it, a coarsening hard to accept. See the beauty of the last children. Hard was enough if the poet had used, or coarsening was enough if he had used it. No, he is not happy. He is using two adjectives together, coarsening, hard, to accept. What is difficult? What is hard? Hard means not easy. What is not easy to accept? It is not easy to accept the defeat of life. It is not easy to accept the death of life. It is not easy to accept the failure of life. It is not easy to accept that the dreams are not fulfilled. The foot could no more become a butterfly or no more be an apple. This was very difficult to accept. The child's foot could not accept this, but it has to agree because truth is always harsh. It has to adjust itself because it has no other code. It is a harsh reality, but you have no other option other than accepting it. It's forcing hard to accept all these negativities. What it? The death, the harshness of life, the failure of life, and the unsatisfied dream of the child's foot. But this blind thing walks without respite, never stopping for hour after hour, one foot, the other. Now the man's, now the women's, up above, down below, through fields, mines, markets, and ministries, backwards, far afield, inwards, forward, this foot toils in its shoe, scarcely taking time to bear itself in love or sleep. But the journey doesn't stop. Journey continues non-stop. However the life is, whatever we need to face, this is the rule of the life. You need to keep moving ahead. You have to keep moving further. So, but this blind thing walks without respite, without any rest, respite, never stopping for hour after every moment, till the moment we are breathing. We need to move the one foot, the other. See, there's no halt at all. With every step, one foot is moving automatically, the other one is following the other. Up, above, down, below. See these words. See the sound of this. Now the man's, one foot, the other, up, above, down, below, through fields, mines. The chaos of life is so clearly unfolded. So much of a role to play, so many battles to wage, so many difficulties to face, but still a non-stop journey it is. Through various phases, either you are a farmer or you are into some other occupations, you are into this, that, being into various occupations, still you need to continue your journey. Inward, forward, the chaos, the confusions of life is so well brought out in these lines. The sound and the feeling, the sound and the meaning goes hand in hand throughout these lines. This foot toils in its shoe. It struggles so hard, it doesn't have an escape, neither it can come out of it. It has to continue its journey within these limitations, within this confinement, but still it doesn't stop. It continues to do this. This foot toils in its shoe, scarcely taking time to bear itself in love or sleep. Amidst all these things, the foot completely forgets or is not capable of seeing the beauty part of the life. It stops enjoying these wonderful happinesses of life. It is not aware of it. To bear itself, what is it? To become itself nude here. Nude means become open to enjoy the joy of the life. It doesn't do it. It cannot do it because it is so much committed with its responsibility. Bear itself in love or sleep. 1 minute of peaceful sleep, no. Throughout its life, the foot can never undergo this. Only with its death, it can experience that undisturbed sleep. Till then, it continues with this kind of commotions throughout its life. It walks, they walk, until the whole man chooses to stop. It doesn't end unless until the blow of death comes in its way. It's only the death that can stop the foot from moving, the foot from continuing to take up the journey. Once the death comes in its way, it has to ultimately, inevitably, even though it is not willing to stop the journey, it has to stop its journey. And then it descended underground, unaware. For there everything was dark. From one darkness, now it is moving to the another darkness. Why? Once it is dead, it's been buried. From the show's darkness, it is been now into the grounds of the darkness. There also it is dark. It is descended, it is lower down from the earthly darkness to the grave's darkness. So it comes down. It never knew it had ceased to be a foot. Or if they were burying it so that it could fly, or so that it could become an apple, it never knew that. It has ceased. It can no more travel. It can no more go ahead. But it feels that it's still moving. It is ceased. It has stopped. Its journey has come to an halt. The foot doesn't realize it because it was darkness when it was alive also in the show. It is in darkness when it is dead, even now when it is buried underneath the earth. So how can it make the difference? It cannot make any differences at all. It ceases to understand what is life and what is death. It has the same experience. And then, if they were burying it so that it could fly or so that it could become an apple, but still, even though it is buried, one thing for sure, it doesn't give up the hopes of becoming a butterfly or once again reliving its dream of being a butterfly or an apple. This is the human psychology. This is the recycle of the delusion. It doesn't end up with the death. Once again, it recreates. The child recreates one more limitless possibility of once again reliving its dream of becoming a butterfly or an apple. Once again, perceiving the ray of hope and a wonderful life for itself. This is what is expression of Pagno Nerina.